Good evening, everyone. Everyone, please rise. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Grant Neuendorf.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessings upon the members of this council as we assemble here in the chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all our deliberations. Give us the strength and wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives, and that peace and harmony will mark all our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed in us by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Amen. Alderwoman Tracy Berto, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, at this time, I'd ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of April 3rd, 13th, and 17th. Is there such a motion, please? Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderwoman Berto. Or is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call, please.
Alderman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Petition and communication, letter of resignation from Charles C. Whitty from the Norwich Golf Course Authority.
Thank you. Motion to receive, please. Alderwoman Berto, second Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Multiple hands? President Pro Tem.
Thank you. I would just like to take a moment to thank Mr. Whitty, Charlie, for his years of dedication to the city, but specifically in this case, to the Norwich Golf Course. He was the city manager, I believe, when the city purchased the golf course, turned it into a municipal asset that the residents in the community, and actually our neighboring community in Montville have enjoyed for quite some time. He's been a steward of the course for many, many years as a member of the Golf Course Authority, and his input, his insight, and his leadership will be sorely missed by the Golf Authority, I am certain. So thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I would add a few comments. Charlie Whitty was the city manager for, I believe, 13 plus years, longest serving ever. He was the city manager when I was first elected to the city council back in 1979. And boy, do I feel old saying that. But he was a consummate gentleman. He also worked with the youth in our city. He coached baseball teams in the Norwich Senior League over at Octobondo Avenue. He cared a great deal about everyone in the community. As a city manager, there was never a city council meeting held that a city council member was not fully informed about any issue that was before them. He took that amount of time to make sure that everybody knew the pros and cons, if they existed, or knew what the issue was about and why it was a benefit to the city and so forth. He has been a friend to many, many people over a broad number of generations. He's a Villanova grad, for anyone who cares about that. I know how proud he was when Villanova won the national title when they beat Georgetown. Charlie has always put the needs of the city first throughout his entire life as an adult. He will be missed on the Golf Course Authority, and I would ask everyone to please keep him in your prayers. Thank you. A roll call, please.
Alderman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould,
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf,
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia,
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom,
Yes.
6-0.
Motion is adopted, 6-0. Thank you.
City Managers Report.
Thank you. This is a city manager's report for May 1st, 2023. Meetings attended were Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, legislative discussion at the Capitol, Connecticut Town and City Manager Association, Southeastern Council of Governments Executive Committee meeting of the Council of Governments, Southeastern Area Transit, NPU City Coordination Meeting, NCDC Board of Directors Meeting, and CT Investment Fund CIF stakeholders. There will be a traffic control change on the Sherman Street Bridge starting May 8th for Asylum Street in accordance with the contract drawings and specifications. Asylum Street will be one-way northbound from Star Street to New London Turnpike. This will allow the elimination of one lane of roadway in the vicinity of the bridge project. This change will remain in effect until the substantial completion of the bridge. Public Works has reconditioned the track at Fontaine Field, which encircles the field, by recutting the edges and placing additional stone dust with the paving box. This work also includes reconstructing the path from the senior center parking lot to the track and reconditioning the straight section of track used for sprinting. Public Works also repaired a drainage concern at Taftville Park in the vicinity of the walking path, and they have planted 2 trees in the landscape bump out area adjacent to the Franklin Square roundabout. Norwich Human Services Adult Family Division has partnered with NPU and Liberty Bank to host Saving Money and Energy event that was held on April 27th. Youth, Family, and Recreation Division Prevention Council collaborated with the NPD and the DEA to collect 371 pounds of prescription medications on Drug Take-Back Day. The Rose Senior Center completed 560 tax returns for Norwich residents through their AARP Tax Assistance Program. The Amistad arrived at the Norwich Harbor on April 24th with a water salute from the Norwich Fire Department. Thank you to Chelsea Groton Bank, Hall Communications, and other sponsors who made this event possible. And finally, I have attached NCDC's quarterly report for quarter ending March 31st, 2023. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Other questions of the city manager at this time? I would only add then to John's comments, for those who are here in the audience, a press conference was held this morning with the Lieutenant Governor and the Deputy Commissioner of DECD on the site of the proposed business park. Our delegation from Hartford attended, and various departments were represented. It was a very positive outcome, and we continue to pursue federal funding for the highway improvements that will protect particularly the local neighborhood streets and roads from any impact of traffic. But it should be on the record that the city is very grateful for the $11.4 million grant that has been granted to the city of Norwich. When you look at the investment that the city itself has made, which is about $4.7 million, which includes acquisition, is $15 million now into this project. And it's over 4 years of effort to make this happen, to grow our grand list, to add well over 1,000 jobs, and help our taxpayers afford to live here. Thank you.
Citizen comment on resolutions.
I declare citizen comment on the 7 resolutions open at this time. No one signed up ahead of time, but if anyone would like to speak at this time, please, when you approach the dais, give your name and address. You can have 3 minutes to speak on these resolutions. Citizen comment is open. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Again, citizen comment is open. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Pat McLaughlin. I'm the Director of Public Works. I'd like to speak toward resolution number 2. I'd just like you to, I'd urge you to not remove the laborer's position from the city manager's original proposed budget. The Department of Public Works has been constantly answering the call to do more different things, such as installing parklets and other things to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Norwich. Over the last few years, we've been fortunate to have been given or budgeted for some very good pieces of equipment, such as a vac-all and a bucket truck, not to mention the paving box that we use to recondition the track across from Kelly School. But we need good employees to keep these pieces of equipment moving and to help, improve and maintain the infrastructure for the city of Norwich. Therefore, I urge you to consider keeping that position in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else like to address the council? Yes, Mrs. Filmer.
Good evening, Joanne Philbrick, Norwich Town. With all due respect, Mr. Salamone, I'm sure that you put a lot of time and effort into your proposed budget, but unfortunately, it fell far afield of fiscal responsibility. Norwich has one of the highest tax rates in the state. That would be palatable if we had the amenities to go along with it, but we don't. So in your proposed reconstruction here, you talk about eliminating benefits and for the part-time treasurer's department, the elimination of a 911 dispatcher, which is vacant at this time. But it's interesting because in the proposal, it says the 2021 McGrath Fire Studies recommend increases in staffing for emergency dispatch. This is a public safety issue. There are many places, every one of you up there should be going through the budget line by line by line in your caucus and making your recommendations to bring forward where we can cut. Everything that's listed tonight, and they are few and far between, are what I like to refer to as low-hanging fruit. I don't see any big wage earners here being cut. So I know what my priorities are. I would hope that you would get in line with those. Secondly, Dodd Stadium. It's a money pit. It's a money pit. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be transferring $100,000 to it. You're not raising the rent until at least 2025. Anybody with an iota of common sense knows that inflation has gone up 7%. Stop being charitable with my tax dollars. Lastly is I guess number 7 is the budget adjustment of Mr. DeLucia. Is that correct? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Thank you, at least for answering that, because I don't know what the end game is here. But I, for one, and I spoke about this when I was on the council, your NPU revenue sharing is a double tax. If NPU can donate 10% of their gross revenues, perhaps NPU could donate 5% of their gross revenues and reduce my public utility bill. This is a double tax. This is a bait and switch, a pyramid, a Ponzi, whatever you want to call it. It's just a divisive action to move the tax so that the people in the CDC think they're paying less, but in actuality, the people in the TCD are paying more. So I would respectfully and adamantly ask you all that we start living within our means. If you don't have the money, then you have to lay people off. It's as simple or as sad as you want it to be, but you cannot keep on just piling it on. And the last thing I will say is that I have mentioned it to several of you, and I hold myself equally accountable and responsible for this one. In the city of Norwich, the singers may change, but the song remains the same. So it doesn't matter who's sitting up there, the taxes always go up. So let's try to find an equitable solution, because otherwise there won't be anybody left in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the citizen comment, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Milby, Director of Human Services. Thanks for just giving me a quick moment. So I just also wanted to advocate for that position, the Senior Center Office Coordinator position. You'll see that it's not even funding the position fully. We've been able to scrape together the other half of that position. And I'm sure you remember from when I spoke to you about a month ago, I have a plan for administrative infrastructure for the department that's contingent upon this money. This $41,000 we're asking for will greatly impact 20% of your electorate. So I would just leave you with that, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this citizen comment at this time?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jan Sawicki, 39 Andrea Lane in Norwich. I just hate to see, I'm looking at number 2, the amendment to reduce wages and benefits for various positions in the city. We're all feeling the crunch of inflation, and for some, a lot more than others. And I hope that you will look at that and think about that a little seriously. I worry about the morale of the workers in the city. We're trying to make our city a more, doesn't even make sense to say more beautiful, a lovely place, a friendly place, a place where we want to raise our families. We do not want to reduce wages and benefits and have people suffer from low morale and just basically not caring anymore, because obviously it appears that they're not respected for what they do and what they need to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the citizen comment at this time?
Good evening. Mark Benjamin, 125 Hunters Ave, Taffy. I'm standing up tonight kind of in shock to see a dispatcher position potentially being requested to be eliminated. I've been attending these meetings in public safety for the past couple of years. Being involved in emergency services, working hand in hand with the police department. The dispatchers are critical to what we do, how we protect the citizens, how we protect ourselves. That department has to have the staffing. Without them, the rest of us can't work safely. The thought to eliminate them, make them work more. We're going through communications upgrade. We're going through all kinds of changes, radios, and it's all critical on the dispatchers. We cannot. I'm not familiar with how this came about, but the thought of decreasing anything in that department is going to cripple the rest of the emergency services, police and fire completely. When we're dealing in an emergency situation, we can't have less people over there. We can't have people overworked, getting mandoed constantly with what they're doing. So I'd ask you to critically relook at that for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak under citizen comment at this time? Anyone else like to speak under citizen comment at this time? Anyone else like to speak under citizen comment on this time on the resolutions on our agenda? Seeing no one else, then declare it closed. Thank you.
New business resolutions, number 1, relative to an amendment of the 2023-24 budget to adjust revenue estimates.
At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this forward. Alderwoman Gould, second, Alderwoman Berto. Is there discussion at this time? Roll call then, please.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
The resolution is adopted 6-0. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to request an extremely brief recess at this time. I would say even less than 5 minutes. I need to clarify a point that I made earlier in my caucus where I misstated something before we move on in the agenda.
It's yours.
Thank you.
Doesn't need a vote. You're back. At this time, we still need a motion to bring this to the floor for discussion. Alderwoman Gould, second, Alderman Singh. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderwoman Berto?
No.
Alderman Singh?
No.
Alderwoman Gould?
No.
Alderman Neuendorf?
No.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
No.
Mayor Nystrom?
No.
0-6.
Thank you. The resolution 2 is not adopted. It fails 0-6. Thank you.
Number 3, relative to the tentative adoption of the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 23-24.
At this time, I'm sorry, Alderwoman Gould, you making a motion? Thank you. In the second, please, Alderman Singh. Thank you. Is there discussion? I would only say that this is the first night. There'll be another month going forward, another public hearing as well on the budget that is adopted tonight. Again, it's preliminary. The final budget will not be acted on until next month.
Yeah.
So, and just a heads up, it may not be the first Monday of the month. Our charter allows us to go 1 week further. Depends on if the state has adopted its budget. And I've always recommended that if the state has not completed their budget, we're better off to take a couple extra days. So that might happen as well. So we understand where all the revenues are. Is there further discussion on this? I guess not. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Resolution 3 is adopted 6-0.
Number 4, relative to schedule a public hearing regarding the recapture of Community Development Block Grant Corona Response Care Act Fund. Sorry.
Thank you. Is there a motion, please? Alderman Singh, second, Alderwoman Gould. Before I ask for discussion, just for the edification of persons, it would be on May 15th at our next regular council meeting. Is there discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0.
Number 5, relative to transfer property at 152 Palmer Street and 702 New London Turnpike to Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you. Is there a motion, please? Bring it to the floor. Alderman Singh, second by Alderwoman Berto. Is there discussion? Alderwoman Gould?
I'm excited to support this resolution
Habitat for Humanity has done a tremendous amount of work in the city of Norwich, making home ownership available to those who might not be able to afford a new home. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do with 152 Palmer Street and 702 New London Turnpike. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Resolution is adopted 6-0.
Number 6, relative to extend the lease to the stadium agreement to, how do you say it? The stadium name? Oneonta? Oneonta Athletic Club.
Thank you. Motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Berto, second. Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Just a brief comment. A comment was made about the rent. Well, the rent originally was $90,000 a year, and currently, right now, working with this new college team, the rent is listed at $22,500, but I can tell you that the owner of the team, Mr. Prentice, actually asked us to defer the difference in that rent as deferred, and I can tell you that last year they made the full payment to us. In fact, all the bills that they owed us up to last year are paid, and that is a good thing when it comes to baseball. Doesn't always happen, even at the professional level, but here at the college level, their bills are paid in full right now for this year, including the deferred portion on the first year. So someone had asked about deferment. Well, I'm sorry, Alderman Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question for John, if you can answer. Is there any considerable changes in this new leases than the old one?
There are, you asked if there are changes? Well, the major changes are in the agreement on security. It's recognized that during the week, there's exceptionally less attendance at the baseball games, but on the weekend, especially Friday and Saturday, there's a good amount of residents attending. So in that, we're not having a minimum requirement during the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then on the weekend and Thursday. But on the weekend, we enforce the recommended by the chief, the amount of security that's necessary that we impose on the ball club. And this has been discussed with the chief and agreed to. This does lower some of their costs during the year. Police protection is one of their largest items. In addition to that, this is an extension of the lease. That's why it hasn't changed much from the previous lease. I will tell you that I recommend that it be executed in the short amendment that we have for only 2 years. In that time, we will take a look at the viability of continuing with the stadium, knowing that the stadium is closing in on 30 years old and will need major capital improvements to continue operating as a stadium. It's kind of reached its useful life. Unfortunately, earlier in its existence, it did not receive all the preventative maintenance that could be accomplished. But even with that, it is a 30-year-old stadium. So we'll be looking at other alternatives to baseball there, including selling the acreage there for economic development, et cetera. This is all very preliminary, and we have given ourselves a 2-year window to take a look at the viability of whether we want to continue having a major league team up there. It's not in the lease, but it's implied in the lease because of the short amount of time this extension would occur.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there further question or comment? I would then only add that last year they averaged 1,367 persons at every home game, and that was about an increase of about 500 persons per game at home as compared to the single-A Major League team. There is a lot more excitement with the college level. All these players are taken from colleges within probably an hour drive of this stadium. They're local kids, their families attend the games. You could also point out that the Mystic Schooners, I hope I have that right, they'll be playing there again this season. So in total, you'll have about a 74 home game stand of college players. And the baseball is quite good. They're very aggressive, very enthusiastic. You know, they want to continue their baseball and maybe someday get to the major leagues. So the effort is there in every game, and I would encourage people to attend these games and support them. So, thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Resolution 6 is adopted, 6-0.
Number 7, relative to budget adjustment.
Motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Berto, second, President Pro Tem. Is there discussion? President Pro Tem.
So I'd like to take a moment to address a public comment in terms of, the purpose, the end game of this resolution. It was my hope that we would set a framework for this year's budget once the council did its preliminary adoption, which we had just a few resolutions ago accomplished. The framework is very simple. The first is to achieve at least a 0 mil increase in this year's budget, in next year's budget from this year's budget. Also, if part of that framework is to maintain at least the amount of funding that the city manager has recommended in his budget for the school system. And then the third sets really a path, and it's only the first step in the path, because we do look at every line in the budget, and we have to make some hard decisions. But it was my thought in asking for this to be drafted, that the first thing that we should look at is the split of the NPU money. The taxpayers, or I should say the ratepayers, the city owns the utility. The dividend for that ownership is the 10% payment that the utility puts into our annual budget. That money is the only revenue item that the council has any sway over. We are not allowed to touch any other revenue items except for this one, and only the way that it is split between the two districts is under our authority. That's it. So all I'm saying is that that's the first place that we should look, to try to come up with a budget that accomplishes that first goal and allows for the second goal. That's all this is. It's just really setting the first step on the path towards a common sense budget. So I hope I have the support of my colleagues on the council on this. This is really, as I said, a first step in a very lengthy process that is going to occur over the next 30-something days. And hopefully we will come up with a work product that everybody can live with. Not everybody's going to get everything that they wanted, but at least if everyone can live with what decisions that the 7 of us make, then we have accomplished something. And I believe that that is completely possible and achievable. I'm hoping that this resolution is the first step in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further comment at this time? Your hand again, Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you. I would, considering my comments, I would like to offer an amendment.
You have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to amend item number 1 to say result in at least a 0 mill rate increase upon adoption, with the hope being that if we can achieve a tax cut, that would be beneficial to all. And then the second thing I'd like to amend is under item number 2, maintain, again, at least the proposed total estimated expenditures of the Norwich Public Schools as set out in the manager's budget, ... Again, because if we can achieve one, we can achieve number 1 and be closer to the ask from the Board of Ed, then that is a step in the right direction.
First of all, there needs to be a second. The amendment, is there such as, okay, Alderman Singh seconded. The motion is before us to amend. The city manager asked to be recognized.
Yeah, just so in the first one, the at least would be inserted after result in, right? So at that point, result in at least,
A 0 mill rate, yes.
right. And then the second one would be inserted after the word maintain in the first sentence. So it would be maintain, insert, at least
The
the,
proposed total.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on the amendment that is before us? Seeing none, roll call on the amendment.
Alderman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold?
No.
Alderman Neuendorf?
No.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
And Mayor Nystrom?
No.
So that's 3-3.
Thank you. The motion to amend fails on a tie vote, 3-3. The resolution before us as proposed, is there further discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Berto? No. Alderman Singh?
I guess no then.
Alderwoman Gold?
No.
Alderman Neuendorf?
No.
President Pro DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
No.
That's 1-5.
Thank you. Resolution 7 is not adopted. It fails on a vote of 1-5, or 1-4, 5 against, just for clarity. Thank you.
New business ordinance. An ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 20, Section 20-19 and 20-24 of the Code of Ordinances for corrections and changes recommended by the Public Parking Commission.
Thank you. At this time, I had asked for a motion to schedule this for a public hearing on May 15th to waive the full text and reading at this time and schedule for second reading on May 15th for the public hearing to be held. Is there such a motion? Alderman Singh, second by Alderwoman Gould. Roll call.
Alderwoman Berto? Yes. Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould. Is there a second? Alderman Singh. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Berto.
Yes.
Alderman Singh.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf.
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia.
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Motion to adjourn is adopted, 6-0. Thank you.